This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by Pulev, aka Jamie Moore, out here in Las Vegas. Jamie, how are you doing?
I was alright until you said that.
I've seen a lot of people giving you grief. I've seen it quite a bit for the last year or so, really, but the last month or so in particular, I think people have started to pick up on it a bit more.
It's not really increased. I've just been sort of having the crack with people and having a laugh.
Interacting more.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny.
Listen, I'm waiting for the time when you're walking through the casino and somebody says, "Is that Pulev?" and asks you for a photo.
I'm miles too small. I mean, I'm a midget, really. Never in a million years someone's going to mistake me for him.
Listen, I've been mistaken for photos before, but that is a topic for another day, Jamie.
Yeah.
Amir Khan after a show in Birmingham.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How thick was the glasses?
Didn't have any.
Oh,
That's
mate.
even worse.
Amir Khan?
Yeah.
Nah, come on.
I was tempted
He's
to...
miles better looking than you.
That's up for debate.
Come on, man. Are you faster than that?
Yeah. Oh, I'd like to think I was one day, but not anymore.
Okay.
But Jamie, obviously, onto boxing talk. Obviously, you're out here. Chantelle Cameron defends her WBC world title for the first time against Melissa Hernandez. How's camp been?
Really good. Yeah, Chantelle's... she's always really dedicated. Always sort of in the gym ticking over. So yeah, it's not like she ever sort of goes into camp. It's like she's constantly ticking over. It's always just a case of sharpening the tools for her and setting out a game plan. So it's not been a difficult job. It's just one of basically. This is, I think, about 5 or 6 weeks delayed from originally where it should have been scheduled because she got crashed into and hurt her neck. So if anything, it's probably benefited us because it's given us a little bit more time for her to sort of get that game plan imprinted in our brain.
It talks about the accident, Jamie. I never really touched on it with Chantelle, but from a trainer's perspective, when she did return, was she a little fragile at all?
Well, the first day she did it, she was like, it's a bit sore, but it's not too bad. And I was like, listen, these things, usually it's the next day or the day after. And that was the case. So she gave it a couple of days. She had physio. These are chiropractors and aeros who looked after her. She said, give it 3 or 4 days, see if it settles down. But it wasn't very hopeful, and it just wasn't worth the risk because, especially with your neck, she needed to be sparring and stuff like that at that point in time, and it just wasn't possible. So it was definitely the right thing to do, and now she's firing on all cylinders.
This fight with Melissa Hernandez, Melissa is not a known quantity, shall we say, in the UK. So from what you've seen, from what you've studied of her, what are you expecting?
I think she's not a bad fighter at all. She's got pretty good head movement for when you look at women's boxing in general, the skill set is still sort of developing and the depth in quality and stuff isn't there like it is with the men. So the way she moves the defence, she's sort of quite slick. That was sort of impressive, but for me the big difference is the size. She's really a career featherweight, and she's coming up, and Chantelle's a big, strong, super lightweight. So and even though she's first and foremost a pressure fighter, she's a very good technician as well. I think she proved that in the fight where she won the world title. So I just feel like every sort of box is ticked in terms of what we'd need to beat Hernandez, and especially with it being a first world title defence, she's sort of chomping at the bit, and obviously the delay and the fight not being able to happen last time has put it onto a bigger stage. So really everything's lined up for us, and I've got a feeling it's going to be a real impressive performance from Chantelle.
Chantelle has spoken openly about what she wants to achieve in the past. She wants to go into unify. She wants to become undisputed. She's obviously spoken about the Katie Taylor fight as well. Provided Saturday goes to plan, is there a pressure to push for one of the other champions or to push for a Katie Taylor fight if it was available?
I don't think there's pressure from anybody else. I think the pressure what Chantelle puts on is for herself. She wants to be an undisputed world champion. Ever since she came to me, I always felt like that she was capable of that. And Eddie is behind her now, and he wants to make her an undisputed champion. So I don't see why not. Katie Taylor's same promotional team. I think we can get Chantelle, undisputed super lightweight champion. We got Katie Taylor, undisputed lightweight champion. What a fight that would be. You know, whether that meant that Chantelle would drop down to lightweight or Katie would move up, I don't know, but I don't think it matters. I think the fight would sell for itself, and Chantelle's definitely still capable of lightweight. You know, I understand. You know, Chantelle wanted the Katie fight before she was a world champion, but I understand that it just didn't make sense from Katie's point of view because it's a risky fight with not a lot of reward. Whereas we're trying to get Chantelle into the position where there will be enough reward to take that risk, and what a fight that would be.
Jamie, moving forward, just get your thoughts on the headline event before we touch on your other fighters and a couple of other topics. Devin Haney, Haney-Linares. Haney-Linares has achieved an incredible lot during his career, but heading into this fight, he's actually quite a big underdog with the bookies. Is that a surprise to you?
I think he's an underdog. I don't think he's quite as big as the bookies are making out. Linares, he's past his best, but he's certainly not a shot fighter. He's not a finished fighter. And Haney's quite, pretty much untested, certainly at this sort of level. And Linares is a dynamite puncher with that right hand. So Haney's got a terrific jab, but historically Linares has used somebody's jab, and a good jab, to his benefit. He plays off it, he works on that timing. A lot of the time he's been out jabbed early on, and then he sort of works his right hand over the top of it from that timing. So he's not as big as an underdog as the bookies are making out. I still think Haney, youth, enthusiasm, just because he hasn't been at this level doesn't mean he can't compete there and be a dominant champion. So I just think it's the age-old, the right matchmaking at the right time. I think Linares will have his moments, but I just think Devin will be a little bit too young and too fresh.
That lightweight scene at the minute, it's got a lot of people talking with regards to Gervonta Davis, who can drop back down after his fight with Barrios. You've got Teofimo, who's, whether people class him or not, potentially undisputed or at least unified. And then obviously Ryan Garcia. What do you make of that division, Jamie?
Lightweight's a stacked division. It's the best division in the world, at the moment in terms of depth, in quality. So it really threw me off there. I was going to sneeze. I really was going to sneeze. Can you imagine Haney v Lopez is a terrific fight. I think when you look at the lightweight division as well, they're all big lightweights, so they can all move up to super lightweight or light welterweight as we call it, and that's a division stacked in talent as well. So over the next sort of 5-6 years, we should see some real good matchups around them weight divisions.
Now, up at super lightweight, we've got Catterall, who has made the scouting mission, shall we say, made a little trip out here to watch Josh Taylor's victory against Jose Ramirez. Just to start there, a brilliant win for Josh Taylor. He's now the undisputed king in that division. But what did you make of his victory? Yeah,
I thought it was an unbelievable performance. I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was exactly the type of fight I thought it was going to be. And the knockdowns won it for Josh. On the cards, I actually thought he'd won it by a couple of rounds anyway. Everything I expected the fight to be, it was. So you've got to take your hat off to him. He's an unbelievable champion. What an achievement. And Jack, did the right thing in one sense. He wanted to be able to let the guys fight out for all the belts. It was the right thing to do. He sat waiting patiently for, it's nearly 3 years now. And he deserves his shot.
We'll come on to Jack shortly, but just to stick with the fight, Kenny Bayless the referee came in for some criticisms during the bout. What did you make of his refereeing performance?
I just thought he gave Josh a bit. It was a bit harsh in the way he was sort of holding him off after knockdowns and stuff. But yeah, it could have been dealt with in a better way, I think. Sometimes you sort of look at the referee and you think, are they protecting the fighter who they thought was going to win? It did look a little bit like that, but you just don't know. I'm not sort of in a position to say that, but yeah, it could have been better. But let's put it that way.
As you mentioned, Jack Catterall, he stepped aside. There's been talk about Josh moving up to 147, looking at that Crawford fight. But are you guys 100% confident Jack will get his chance? I know it was a 90-day it was supposed to be 90 days from that bout this past Saturday that Jack was meant to step into the ring with Josh. Are you guys confident during that period we will see Josh Taylor's first defence against your man Jack Catterall?
Well, I think the plan is for Josh to make his first defence in Scotland in front of his own fans, and I think what better way to do it than an all-British showdown. You know, there is big fights there. There's, like you say, there's lightweights stepping up. Crawford, if I know Josh, he's a big super lightweight himself, so the Crawford fight he's going to be there, but it's always going to be there. I'm not really concerned about everybody else's sort of preferences and as a fighter, you know, I've been a fighter myself, and you always want that next challenge or that next challenge to step up and try and test yourself. But sometimes you've got to deal with mandatories. That's the part and parcel of the game. And the fact of the matter is, Jack did the right thing and stepped aside under the promise that he would get to fight the winner. So I'm fully committed to that fight, and I'm sure he will be. And hopefully it can happen in Scotland this year.
From what you saw in Josh's performance against Jose Ramirez, what type of weaknesses did you guys see that you feel Jack could benefit from?
Well, at that level, I've said it many a times, you don't have that many weaknesses. You know, a lot of the times there'll be defensive weaknesses, but that's sort of eradicated by someone having a granite chin. You know, Josh Taylor's he's a tough guy, he's got a really good chin, he's got a fantastic work rate, he's got a fantastic skill set. There's not a lot of things where they're not weaknesses, there's just stuff inside that style what you've got to try and capitalise on. So you're not going to get weaknesses as such at that level. Jack is a very, very rounded, complete fighter. On the surface of it, when you watch Jack, he looks easier to deal with than he actually is. Every single person who gets in the ring with him always says, God, that was so much trickier to navigate than I thought it would. You know, when you look at him, he looks like he's stationary, flat-footed, easy to it than he is. So I've no doubt that Jack's more than capable of going in there and winning this fight. Some of the performances I've seen, and I know it's different in the gym, but the skill set and the talent I know Jack's got, I know he's capable of beating any fighter in the division. But I'm also realistic and I understand the task at hand and how good a fighter Josh Taylor is. So, but that's why Jack's involved in boxing. He wants to test himself against the best. You know, I love that challenge of trying to set a game plan out for Jack to go out there and try and win a fight like that. It's what we're involved in the sport for.
Akib Fears is also out here. Jamie, have you got any update as to what will be next for him?
I think he's scheduled to be out in Eddie's back garden in the summer shows, and he was talking about the end of July. So yeah, that's the next one. No opponent is scheduled yet, but he's out here sort of doing what he always does, which is try to better himself, getting experience. You know, we've tried to take him everywhere where we can. We had him out in Vegas here 18 months ago with Carl Frampton, sparring. We got him plenty of sparring then. The gyms over here are different atmospheres. You know, I'm being brutally honest. I don't think there's any difference in the quality of fighters now compared to back at home. I think we more than sort of match him in that department. But the atmospheres are different. They're a lot more intimidating. They try and do it on purpose. There's a lot of shouting and chanting and stuff. So I wanted to bring him out here, and the rest of the fighters who can make it out here from our gym, to give him that experience, because it builds character. So it makes you be able to navigate those situations and not get ruffled by outside distractions and just concentrate on what you're doing. So yeah, he's sparring with what's his name now? Jack sparred with him today.
You told me earlier as well. Now I've forgotten.
Whenever this goes out on Twitter, I'll copy his name underneath and copy him into it. Good fighter, 20-0, and Jack sparred 8 rounds with him today. So Akib's going to spar with him on Friday and get that bit of experience in. So it's all good.
Jamie, just a word on Carl Frampton as well. How is he enjoying life in retirement?
Yeah, I've spoken to him a few times, and he seems like he's enjoying it. He's content, and that's all he ever wanted. He wanted to win a world title and go out on a high. It wasn't meant to be, but he got the answer he wanted. So yeah, he's doing well. He's definitely not a super featherweight anymore. He's probably closer to my weight, but he's happy and content, and that's all we ever wanted for him.
And then just a couple of other topics to touch on, Jamie. Firstly, at welterweight, we had a surprise announcement for a big fight coming up August 21st. Errol Spence Jr., Manny Pacquiao. What did you make of the announcement, and what do you make of the fight, Jamie?
Absolutely came out of the blue. I think nobody was expecting it. I take me out off to Manny. I think when you're 42, the same age as me, and still fighting at that level and still wanting to test yourself against the very best, then, you got to give him credit. I think he's going to be one step too far, but with somebody like Manny who's achieved what he's achieved, the genetics he's got, the ambition he's quite clearly still got, then you can never write him off. And I think it's a fantastic test for Spence because, is Manny going to be able to roll back the years? It's difficult to say, but we all said it about Bernard Hopkins for years. Is he going to be able to keep going back to the well? And he did. He did it till he was 48 or 49. So it's a massively intriguing fight for me.
Final thing and the final topic to touch on, Jamie. Last week we saw Deontay Wilder successful with his arbitration case, setting up a trilogy bout with Tyson Fury, meaning that the undisputed one between AJ and Fury will not go ahead next. Just your thoughts on hearing that news and how the heavyweight landscape now lies?
I was disappointed. I think like 99% of boxing fans around the world, because we was all on the verge of thinking that the fight what we've all wanted to see for the last few years was going to be made, and there was stories about maybe Deontay Wilder could take a step aside and guarantee the winner, which for me, I've got to be honest, I think would have been a better choice for him, because when you've been through what Deontay Wilder's been through in the experiences against Tyson Fury, I don't feel that psychologically you can be over it in that period of time. I just don't think it's possible, because I think he knows he lost the first fight. He basically knocked him out in the last round and still couldn't keep him on the floor. And then he got absolutely dominated in the second fight. So I really don't see how he sort of overcomes that psychologically and physically. Barring him nailing Fury with the most perfect punch he could do, I just can't see how he can beat Fury. So, massive amount of money must be involved, but I'm sure he would have got well looked after to step aside, give the world the fight what they wanted, and then sit there and sort of try and beat the winner. And still get handsomely paid. So, I was disappointed with it, to be honest. I was really looking forward to AJ v Fury. And I'm pretty sure we'll still get it. As long as there's no slip-ups in between. I can't see there's any being, and fingers crossed we can see before the end of the year.
Jamie, do you think in Wilder Fury 3, Fury Wilder 3 rather, when it comes around, we'll see anything different with regards to the outcome? Will we see anything different from Tyson or from Deontay?
I don't see what can be different. The first fight, Fury allowed Deontay Wilder to fight his fight and still outboxed him and did what he told us he was going to do. The second fight, he switched it tactically, sort of polar opposites, and dominated him even more than he did the first fight. So, we've got the answers. When you have a picture in your head beforehand, or you sort of bouncing with your friends and colleagues about who will win and why and how, and then you watch the fight and you either go, that's exactly what I thought would happen, or, well, no, it went the other way. Sort of both scenarios, what you could imagine in your mind, have already happened. So we don't need the answers anymore. We know what happened. Deontay Wilder is saying that he feels like he can beat Fury, but I really don't believe that, and I don't believe he believes that. I just think he's trying to sort of maybe build his own confidence. But as a British boxing fan, as a boxing fan in general, I just wanted to see Fury v AJ.
Right, Jamie, will we see you down at the bar later drowning your sorrows?
Not me, mate. I don't drink fight week, so I've just lost another $100, and that's what is probably the downfalls of staying in a casino. So kids, do not gamble.
That's well put there, Jamie. I appreciate your time tonight, and I'll leave you now to rest up and to. I'm effectively trying to think of a word to take the mick out of you again for the defeat for Man United earlier.
I know, mate. Listen, you've got this thing about Man United, but West Brom aren't the best. Let's have it right.
We're not the best, but we don't claim to be the best.
Well, listen, Rome wasn't built in a day. Let's give us a chance to rebuild.
I think West Brom could use that saying.
Rome, come on.
Jamie, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Take it easy, mate.